Let me get my glove back on here. All right. Might need to warm up a little bit, as little as I want to, because the knee was hurting right out of the gate. So I think this is going to look a little bit different today, because what I've realized is that, well, on New Year's Eve we did this exercise at New Year's Eve program for the camp, and it involved writing down what was it, 12 goals for the upcoming year, something like that. I think it was 12, one for each month. And you know, there's research that says if you write your goals, you're, you know, a certain percentage, like 40%, something significant, more likely to achieve them. One of the goals I wrote, you know, of course, spur of the moment, because this activity was pretty spur of the moment. I think it was suggested by a volunteer, in fact. Was, you know, I was trying to quickly process what's a reasonable goal, achievable, realistic, still challenging, measurable, within my interests. And I decided to go with the goal of running a mountain 5K and being in the top 25% this year. So that really gives me like 6 to 8 months, because I assume this will probably happen sometime in the summer, maybe 6 to 10 months, pushing it into autumn, to prepare for this goal and achieve it. And kind of trying to be realistic about myself, you know. I haven't felt like that great of a runner recently. I've never been a competitive runner. But at the same time, about 6 years ago when I was 26, and the very first time that I worked at this camp, I had some downtime in the winter and I decided to focus on myself. I started running for the first time since high school, and I was terrible at it at first. In fact, much worse than I have been in my recent runs. So I was not able to run 1 mile continuously. I'd have to stop and walk most times in my initial attempts to even hit 1 mile. And I'm actually doing better than that now. And from that starting point, and of course this was 6 years ago, so aging has happened a little bit since then. But at that time, you know, later the same year, yeah, actually only 3 months later, I was able to run 6 miles continuously at a pace I was happy with. So, you know, trying to be realistic about my ability, both what I am capable of and what I'm not capable of, not sell myself short, nor be overly ambitious. And I think being in the top 25% was probably a lofty goal, but one that may be achievable if I really go after it. And I realized, I think, not really know how to train for running necessarily, but I do think that I need to be hitting closer to 100% exertion on almost a daily basis. And then probably also doing like the 3 mile at a good pushing myself pace as well. But I really think, like, for me, and also from just my own satisfaction out of the process of running, I want to be hitting close to a full sprint, basically on a daily basis. This thing's kind of struggling. So, and I've also realized I don't enjoy carrying the camera with me when I'm running. So I'm going to set the camera down. Do that over here. And I'm going to push myself And then I think what I've realized also is that, like, you know, I get winded and then I think, oh, that the training's over. Okay, I've done what I can do, hit my max, I'm winded, I'm done. And I'm gonna try to get winded, recover, see how quickly I can recover, and then push myself again. So that's kind of the plan here. See how this goes. Do a little talking in the recovery time. And some deep breathing. There's a lot on the internet these days, and maybe it's a good thing. A lot of memes on Facebook, etc., that say it's okay to be bad at something. Go be bad at singing, go be bad at playing guitar, go be bad at art, just do it. And I love that, actually. It is okay to be bad at something and to find enjoyment in doing something that you're not particularly good at. And the flip side of that I also want to affirm, and that, you know, for me is a reality, is it's also okay to be good at something. It's okay to take the steps that you need to take in order to get good at something. It's okay to intentionally go through a process that is designed to help you get better, have something, improve at something, and become good at something you were once bad at. Because if you enjoyed it even when you're bad at it, you're probably going to enjoy it even more when you're good at it. And maybe there are specific ways of approaching any activity that help you get good at it faster, and maybe that's okay. You know, like if I could spend 6 hours a day doing something, you know, anything, let's say it's practicing guitar, I can do it for 6 hours a day in a way that, like, I'll gradually get better at it. Or I can do it 6 hours a day in a way that, like, is going to accelerate my improvement. I'd rather do it in the way that accelerates my improvement. But there is that fact that maybe at the start, that way isn't as fun. But, you know, there's different levels of enjoyment. You know, maybe the way that's fun at first, it kind of loses, causes you to lose satisfaction over time, because you're like, well, now I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not getting better. And, you know, maybe there's many, many, many ways to get to the same goal. And that can become a hang up of, like, worrying about, am I doing it the right way? So I really do think that just doing it is the most important thing. But also, as you do it, you refine your concept of how you want to do it. And it's okay to make adjustments along the way, and, like, start off being like, yeah, I just want to play around with guitar. And then a couple months in, be like, well, that's not really doing it for me anymore. I really want to, work on this specific solo and work out every single note and like take the time to work through it. And I want to look up music and I want to like take online lessons or, whatever it is. It's okay for that to change over time. It doesn't mean that like what you started off with was bad. That's just what you needed then. And you need something else to keep you engaged at a different moment of the process. So let's do that again. I felt pretty good. Uh-oh. I know it's not traditional to stretch mid-run, but maybe it's a really efficient way to do it. Like, because it's kind of like recovery time, but it's like a good use of recovery time, right? Instead of just standing around with my hands on my knees, stretching. Okay, I can feel pretty good with this for today. I do want my daily routine to start to include more and more running. I kind of realized that, it's like when I went to college and my band director, who I absolutely love, from high school, talked me out of being a band director. He's like, dude, it's really hard. And I believe him. I know how I was. Not to mention the other 89 people he might have to deal with in one single class period. But the other big thing that dissuaded me was the fact that I was told by multiple people, you got to spend like at least 6 hours a day in a practice room with your instrument. And I was like, holy smokes. I mean, I love playing saxophone, but 6 hours a day, oh man. And what I realized is that you spend 16 hours a day doing something. So if I'm not spending those 6 hours a day practicing saxophone, which I love doing, I'm going to spend it doing something else, which I might not like doing as much. And even with 6 hours a day practicing in college, I mean, I didn't realize how amazing of an opportunity that is, because I still had 10 hours a day free to do whatever I wanted with my friends and hang out and chill and do all these things that, you know, seem very normal in college. And as an adult, you realize, wow, you don't just get that time handed to you in the majority of your lifetime. So I realized after the fact I could have spent that 6 hours a day practicing and 10 hours a day hanging out with my friends and doing a bunch of fun stuff and dropping in on other classes every once in a while when I felt like it, like I did anyway. So now, like, I had the thought yesterday, like, what if I spent 6 hours a day training for running? Like, how good would I get? And it's like, wow, that seems really daunting. I mean, I do like 16 minutes and half of it's talking, and I'm like, wow, I can be pretty happy with that. Okay. What if it was 6 hours, really intentional? Like, where would I go with that? Seems like a lot. But I've been spending 8 hours a day behind a computer for the last year. And I've somehow found it in me to be okay with that, so, okay. What if I just went all in for running? Like, as crazy as that sounds, because it's not even something I am necessarily good at, but it's also not something I've ever spent any significant amount of time at. Like, I was pretty good at saxophone. Maybe not naturally better at it than I am at running. I just put in the time. That's it. So, crazy thought. What if I spent 2 hours a day training, like actually training, not just going out for a run, but being intentional and training. It's okay to be good at something. And, you know, as weird as it sounds to want to be good at running, halfway through my life, when it's never something I've done at any competitive level before, unless you count middle school track, which is just like, I'll show up and run and see how good I do. Why not?